The factory floor was louder than usual that morning, the air vibrating with the heavy growl of machines and the sharp metallic clatter of tools. Workers moved like shadows between towering engines, their faces slick with sweat and oil. At the center of it all stood an engine that everyone had begun to call impossible. It had arrived 3 days earlier, an advanced prototype shipped from overseas, worth more than the factory itself. No manuals, no diagrams, just a note from the client: this engine must be operational within 1 week. By the 4th day, the best engineers had failed. And by the 5th morning, the boss had lost his patience. Mr. Harold Klein, the factory's owner, stood on the raised platform overlooking the floor, his tailored suit completely out of place among the grease-stained workers. His jaw was tight, his eyes burning with humiliation. Each failed attempt was costing him thousands. Each hour brought him closer to a lawsuit that could destroy everything he had built. "This is ridiculous," he snapped, his voice cutting through the noise. "I pay you people to solve problems, not stare at them." The engineers exchanged glances but said nothing. They had already tried everything, reconfiguring systems, replacing parts, even calling experts from other branches. The engine refused to start. Worse, when it did respond, it produced strange vibrations that threatened to tear itself apart. That was when Mr. Klein's eyes landed on her. She stood near the far wall, quietly mopping a patch of oil from the concrete floor. Her name was Clara. Most people barely noticed her. She wore a faded gray uniform, her hair tied back in a simple bun, her hands rough from years of hard work. She had been a cleaner at the factory for nearly a decade. Mr. Klein scoffed. "Well, since none of you geniuses can fix it," he said loudly, a cruel smile forming, "maybe she can." Laughter rippled across the floor. Clara froze, gripping the mop handle. Slowly, she looked up. "What?" someone muttered. "The cleaner." Mr. Klein pointed at her. "You, come here." The laughter grew louder as Clara hesitated, then walked toward the engine. Her steps were cautious, unsure. She could feel dozens of eyes on her, some amused, some annoyed, some pitying. Mr. Klein folded his arms. "I dare you," he said mockingly. "Fix this engine." The crowd chuckled again. A few engineers shook their heads. One whispered, "This is getting embarrassing." Clara stood beside the massive machine, its steel surface still warm from failed attempts. She didn't laugh. She didn't argue. She just looked at it. Something changed in her expression. Her eyes narrowed slightly, not with fear, but with focus. "May I?" she asked quietly. The room fell strangely silent. Mr. Klein raised an eyebrow. "Be my guest. You've got 10 minutes. Clara set the mop aside and stepped closer. She circled the engine slowly, her fingers brushing over bolts and panels as if she were greeting an old friend. She leaned in, listening, not to the noise, but to the rhythm of it. She closed her eyes for a moment. The engineers watched with folded arms, smirks still on their faces. "What is she doing?" one whispered. "She's pretending," another scoffed. "Let her have her moment." Clara knelt and removed a small access panel that no one else had touched. Her movements were confident now. Purposeful. She frowned slightly, then reached into her pocket and pulled out a worn pencil. Using it, she traced a line of grease along a seam, then wiped it away with her sleeve. "Interesting," she murmured. Mr. Klein laughed sharply. "Interesting. Are you done playing mechanic?" Clara didn't respond. She stood up and walked to a nearby tool bench. The engineers stiffened. "Hey, you can't," one began. But she had already picked up a wrench. She returned to the engine and loosened a bolt that several engineers had tightened earlier. The machine made a soft click. The sound echoed. Clara stepped back. "Can you try starting it now?" Silence swallowed the room. Mr. Klein hesitated, then gestured angrily. "Fine. Start it." An engineer pressed the ignition. The engine coughed once. Then again. And then, it roared to life. Not violently. Not erratically. Smooth. Powerful. Perfect. The vibration disappeared. The gauges stabilized. The sound was steady, controlled, almost elegant. For a moment, no one spoke. Then chaos erupted. "What the? How did she?" "That's impossible." Mr. Klein's face drained of color. Clara raised her hand gently. "Wait. It's not finished." The room went quiet again. She leaned in, listening once more, then adjusted a secondary valve and tightened another bolt at a precise angle. The engine's pitch changed slightly, settling into an even more refined hum. She stepped back. Now it's finished. The factory floor exploded with stunned whispers. One of the senior engineers rushed forward, staring at the engine in disbelief. That bolt, we never thought to loosen it. Clara wiped her hands on her uniform. Because it looked like the problem, she said softly. But it wasn't. Mr. Klein slowly descended from the platform. His voice was no longer mocking. How did you know? He asked. Clara hesitated, then spoke with quiet honesty. My father was an engineer, she said. He taught me everything when I was young. We used to fix engines together, old ones, broken ones, ones everyone else gave up on. He always said machines speak, if you listen. The room was still. When he passed away, she continued, I had to leave school to support my family. No degree, no titles, just work. One of the engineers swallowed hard. Mr. Klein looked at her as if seeing her for the first time. Why didn't you ever say anything? Clara gave a small, sad smile. No one ever asked. The weight of those words settled heavily over the room. Mr. Klein cleared his throat. Clara, I owe you an apology. The workers stared. For mocking you. For underestimating you. He paused. And for keeping you mopping floors when you should have been standing right here. Clara said nothing. I'd like to offer you a position, he said carefully. Senior mechanical consultant. With back pay. And full benefits. A gasp rippled through the crowd. Clara looked down at her hands, hands that had been dismissed, ignored, overlooked for years. Thank you, she said quietly. But there's something else I want. Mr. Klein nodded. Name it. I want the apprentices, especially the ones without degrees, to be allowed to learn. To touch the machines. To be heard. The engineers exchanged uneasy glances. Mr. Klein nodded slowly. Done. That day changed everything. Clara didn't just fix an engine. She fixed a system. Within months, productivity soared. Young workers learned faster. Innovation flourished. The factory became known not just for its machines, but for the way it treated people. And every time a new prototype arrived, the engineers didn't laugh anymore. They listened. Because they learned the truth that day. Talent doesn't always wear a suit. Intelligence doesn't always come with a title. And sometimes, the person everyone overlooks is the one who sees what no one else can. If this story moved you, remember, never judge someone by their role. You never know what impossible problem they're capable of solving.